They can upgrade that system, for example, with solar-powered TVs. Today we've sold over 100,000 solar-powered televisions to people who've never previously been able to watch the news and elections and all these exciting things going on, connecting the world into their rural house. So that's what we do. That's what M-Kopa is all about. And it has a very big transformative impact. In the last month, we can say that M-Kopa provided over 60 million hours of kerosene fume-free lighting in homes that were otherwise burning kerosene for their lighting. We can also say in the last month that we collected over 2 million payments through mobile money. We can also say in the last month that we created sales jobs, which is where Kaizala comes in, for over 1,000 people working in the rural parts of this country. So we have actually been a very big Microsoft customer for a number of years, since the beginning. Our company runs on technology, and we've, since the very beginning, used Office. We've used all of the core Office products, our mail servers on Office 365. We've also been able to benefit from some of the newer and very exciting Microsoft products like Azure. So we were one of the earliest adopters of Microsoft Azure services, and all of our data is safely and conveniently stored in the cloud with Microsoft. We also are a very big provider of what would be called Internet of Things connectivity, because each one of those 500,000 solar home systems I talked about, those are actually connected to us over the GSM network and through Safaricom. And so we are dealing with billions of data points coming to us from those 500,000 systems every single day, telling us when customers pay, how their solar panels are performing, and other things that allow us to do exceptional customer service. So we're not new to Microsoft or their technology. But what is new is Kaizala, and the way that we've been able to use this, not so much internally in the office, but as Rajiv said, in the mobile workforce. And so as the CEO of M-Kopa, I have the office to worry about. I have around 1,000 employees who we have in the office, but we also have 1,500 independent salespeople that we're trying to work with every day. And in the end of the day, if the independent salespeople can't work effectively, nothing else matters, right? They are, by some measure, the most important part of our community. And so, when you're a CEO and you're looking at technology choices in the office, you want to make the right choice. But in the end, you sort of end up in a position where you tell your team, right? You make a decision, maybe with the head of IT, maybe with the management team. You say, okay, we're going to go with this product, right? We're going to use Skype for Business now for our, web-based communications. We're going to use SharePoint to store documents. Those are decisions that you make centrally, and you sort of push out into the organization. What I would say today is when you know you are working with a hot product, is when you don't have to push it and people come to you asking for it. So let me go back to these salespeople, of which we have over 1,000 in Kenya, and talk about that difference of pushing out a technology versus people asking for it. About 2 years ago, we really wanted to get more of this data of how our salespeople were performing in the field and be able to help them reach more customers. And to make a long story short, having built our own solution, we looked around. We couldn't find something at that time, but we built a solution, and there were some months where we actually had to pay people to use it. We actually had to convince our own salespeople to try to use a product that, we didn't pay them huge amounts, but we said, listen, if you can show us that you're using our app today, so we get the user adoption going up, we'll give you this certain benefit, extra commissions, priorities in the sales team for some reasons, other little incentives to try to push the adoption. And with all that pushing, and I was CEO looking at dashboards every month, I'm seeing the adoption go from 10% to 20%. Eventually, when we pushed as hard as we could, we got the adoption barely up to 50%. Now, something happened about 6-8 months ago, and my team here is implementing Kaizala are here to really tell the true stories. If you want the details, they're right here in the front table. But basically, the team said to me, Jesse, there's this new thing called Kaizala. I said, I haven't heard of it. What is it? He said, well, it's this Microsoft tool, and it's allowing us to talk to the salespeople, and it's really, really good. And it's new, and it hasn't been fully launched, but we think this is going to change the game for us. And basically what happened over several quick months is that instead of having to pay people to use a product, it just went viral. And within those few first months, we had over 70% of our salespeople naturally adopt Kaizala because of its features and benefits. So again, I think a good sign of technology is the fact that you don't have to pay or push people to use it, but they just come to you and they say, hey, this is good, this is working. And internally, I don't just have now the sales team talking about Kaizala, I have all the other departments talking about it. They're all saying, when do we get to use Kaizala? You know? They're going to Heloise and Newton and Joseph and they're saying, can you teach us? How do we pick this up and use it in our department? So there's something very special going on. I'm going to give you a few examples of how we really use it, which are not very dissimilar, from what Rajiv's already shown you from other examples in those videos. But on Monday mornings, we ask all of our salespeople to gather in one of our 70 different shops. They're all hired out of a different shop, so they may be in Carisho, they may be in Malindi, they may be in Athi River. And in those communities, they get together on Monday morning for a sales meeting. As CEO, I've always been interested, how many people show up? If we have 1,000 registered salespeople in Kenya, attendance on a Monday morning to me feels like a good data point to understand if the team is fired up and they're going to go out and they're going to make sales this week. So, again, earlier this year, without Kaizala, we were saying, hey, we need to know these numbers. And so, sort of to your story, someone in the sales team would get on a phone call and, we'd get maybe email entries, we get WhatsApp entries, we get Skype entries, we get phone calls, and somebody would be filling out a data sheet in Excel. And at the end of the day, I could get an email saying, Jesse, based on all the data we got from 17 different sources, about 650 people showed up to meetings today. And of course, you might get errors in that, right? Because there's data entries, so somebody puts 27 in, the chat message when they should have put 37. Anyway, you're getting a rough idea, but you're not getting it until 5 o'clock, and somebody literally spent their entire day trying to figure out how many people showed up to meetings. Now, we've got the ability to use Kaizala and these cards to basically have people check in when they get to meetings. And they can geolocate. They say, I'm at this meeting in this service center. And all of that information comes straight into Power BI, and we can know within minutes what the attendance looks like on a Monday morning. I hope that's not applause for me, because this has all been done by other people. I just think it's a very impressive technology, which is really helping us get smarter at how to manage this remote rural sales force. I want to give another example, which is around training. So we have, again, 1,000 people disparate across the country. If we want to get them information about a new pricing plan or a new product that's coming, this is how it used to work. It used to be that the month ahead of time, we would schedule maybe 30 different trainings across Kenya in hotels and restaurants and our stores, and we would pay to send our teams out, and they would go to these meeting places, and we'd pull in everybody for training, and then they'd come into a room like this, and then we'd show them some PowerPoint slides, and maybe give them a document, and we've been able to, to train them on the new pricing plan. Well, now we can send them a quick survey, and we can say, hey, there's a new pricing plan, read this document, and now take a little quiz and tell us if you're clear on what the new pricing plan is. And literally within hours, we can have a very good sense about who's understanding the product, and maybe we do need to do physical training. That still is obviously an important part of any company. But the ability to see so quickly where people already know what you're offering, or where they don't, and where you need to reinforce that with more training, is something we can do very quickly and easily through this tool. I think the other features that you've seen are all also very important, and I won't go through those, but I wanted to give those two examples of how for our sales team today, based on using Kaizala over the last few months, we've been able to create huge efficiencies and get the right data out of our sales force literally in real time. And that's why you can imagine the other departments in our company are coming to me and saying, when do we get to use Kaizala too? Yeah? So I'll leave you with that. I do, again, want to end where I started and just say that I wouldn't be here unless I was genuinely passionate about what this product's doing for M-Kopa. I genuinely believe it's a game changer for those companies and organizations that are trying to be effective in managing a large distributed workforce. And again, if a sign of a good technology is that you don't have to push it on your team, but they come asking for it, I think you know you're onto something great. And thank you guys for what you built. If I could, I'd like to invite next Jensen and Ronald from SIVA to come up next. Thank you.